Bitcoin is right now retesting one of the most important downward sloping resist lines of this entire trend right now. And on today's update video, I'm going to be giving a big update on my scenario, what I think is going to be happening next for Bitcoin, what I believe currently is happening on the bigger perspective for Bitcoin. I will also talk about the big CPI data that's going to come in next week, which could spoil the markets heavily. So I'm going to be talking about this and many more important charts and patterns which are telling us something about what is currently happening with Bitcoin and what is going to be playing out in the next weeks for Bitcoin right now. So this video will be extremely important because I do really believe that next week we could be having a very bad week once again for the stock market if the CPI data is going to come in hotter than expected. So I'm going to be talking about this on today's update video. So don't forget to once again slap that like button back above 1,000 likes on today's update video. That will be highly appreciated. And with that being said, let me straight away jump in towards the chart. So first of all, yesterday and the day before, I talked about my main scenarios, which are either that Bitcoin is going to be bouncing back towards the upside, break the downward sloping resist line, and push towards new all-time highs most likely straight away after this. That is scenario number one. But my second scenario is still that we're going to be seeing a rejection for Bitcoin and then move down towards the lows to $50,000 approximately, and then start to be bouncing back towards the upside. And on that second scenario, guys, I have set up more than $2 million worth of Bitcoin buy orders to open up a new long position exactly if Bitcoin is going to come down again here. Because personally, if we're looking at most crashes in the market, this is what likely tends to be happening. But I do also very much believe that potentially the next crash could even get worse, that Bitcoin is going to be dropping even lower towards potentially $45,000. And let me quickly explain about why that could be happening. I'm not saying it's going to be happening, but why it could be happening. So just like Zero Hedge says here on his X page, do you want to be seeing fireworks? Just wait for the CPI to come in a little bit hotter than expected. So the CPI data, the inflation data, is going to hit the markets next Wednesday on August the 14th. And if this data is going to come in hotter than expected, so the forecast is 3.3%, and if it's going to come in higher than expected, we are most likely going to see the markets panicking once again even more. Because if the inflation remains to be sticky, it means that the Federal Reserve needs to have a tighter policy and they can't really cut the rates. But like we know, the market is currently pricing in a 50 basis point rate cut. And if we then cannot see a 50 basis point rate cut, yeah, the market is most likely going to be panicking. But either ways, I do think that even though if the inflation is going to come in a little bit hotter than expected, the Federal Reserve is inevitably going to be cutting the rates here because the US government is literally going in towards the debt spiral, because at this rate, they have to pay 40% of the government revenue to be paying their interest rates. So they really have to be cutting the rates any moment right now here, because at this pace, their debt is just literally getting out of hand here. So yeah, this is basically what is going on worldwide here. So I do think the market is definitely going to be pricing this in, but vice versa, if it is going to come in colder than expected, so if inflation is dropping harder than expected, it will definitely mean that the market is most likely going to be pumping very aggressively. So it could go both ways here, but of course, if it's going to come in hotter than expected, it could be quite worse for the market, and not only for Bitcoin, but of course for the entire stock market as well here. But I do currently believe that if I'm looking at Bitcoin, we're seeing this massive consolidation of this descending wedge pattern, and basically we're still bouncing from this downward sloping support line, which we have been retesting every single time here. And I believe that this downward sloping resistance line on the 4-hourly time frame is going to be crucial to be breaking above it. And if we do clearly break above this level, we could start to see a bigger bounce back towards the upside. So I'm going to be looking closely towards this level, and if we do break it, that is the point where a continuation towards the upside could be really starting to be happening. But if I'm then looking at the market and looking at the funding rates, I remain to be seeing that the funding rates are actually quite negative, which means that most of the market is actually shorting quite heavily. And since the market is shorting quite heavily, it is actually quite likely that we're going to be seeing that short squeeze back towards the upside. And if we're looking at the liquidity, the majority of the liquidity is laying around $72,000 to $70,000 in the market. To be exact, and approximately $10 to $15 billion worth of Bitcoin short liquidations are laying around that region of $72,000 to $70,000 for Bitcoin right now. So also yesterday on the spot Bitcoin ETF, we saw about 45 million US dollars worth of inflows after 3 days of significant outflows. So looking right now at Bitcoin, I currently am not in a trade since I hit my stop loss on my previous trade here, which was in profit. But right now I want to be opening up a new trade right here. And I said it already early in this video. I am planning to open up a trade if Bitcoin is going to come down here. And let's say Bitcoin is going to be rebounding back towards the upside. I'm not going to be opening up a trade at all, but at that point, I will be definitely benefiting from the market going up anyways, because most of my money is allocated towards my spot position. And my spot position, I've been buying quite a lot here in this most recent dump here. Mainly, I have been buying some altcoins, which are already up quite significantly, because I do still ultimately believe that at the end of 2024, beginning 2025, we could be getting a massive altcoin season, and that is ultimately where I am preparing myself for right now here. So, guys, if you want to be joining me with this trade, if you want to be trading yourself at all, if you right now go to the highest link description of today's video and press on this link right here, you will come to this page where you can currently claim a free $500 US airdrop position on Bybit. So if you are interested in trading, make sure to check it out in the link description of today's video. It is an extremely valuable deposit bonus. It's literally a free $500 US trade you could be opening right now. So if you're interested in that, check it out in the link description of today's video. So Bitcoin also remains to be holding that massive bull flag pattern. And before going further in towards the charts, I quickly want to be saying that currently, if we're looking at poly markets, it's a 49 against 49% chance that Trump against Harris is going to be winning. So it's equal chances right now, whoever is going to be winning. So very interesting to be seeing what currently is happening right here. But of course, for the markets and the stock market and Bitcoin, it will be highly nice if Trump is going to be winning this election. So we just have to wait and see how it's going to be playing out here. But yeah, only 89 days left here, guys, before the election is going to be there. And I personally do really believe that if Trump really is going to be winning, it is going to be extremely bullish for the stock market. It's going to be extremely bullish. So let's see how it's going to be playing out here. Currently looking at the bigger perspective for Bitcoin, we do still know we're still in this largest consolidation phase, and maybe it's going to be lasting for another 100 days, maybe even longer. So yeah, said it multiple times before here, but if we're looking at previous cycles on Bitcoin, it usually tends to last like 110, 120 days before the bull market starts. And right now, we're in about a similar time zone, but maybe this time around it's going to be taking a little bit longer, because in November 2024, we're going to be having the US elections. So that's going to be a little bit later. That's going to be over here. But I do believe that whenever the US election is going to come, it could very well cause the real big Bitcoin bull market to really start. We just have to wait a little bit longer, but I still ultimately do believe the cycle is still intact here. And yes, guys, always, if we're looking at the previous Bitcoin bull markets, usually before the Bitcoin bull market starts, you always tend to see a massive crash here. You see also over here in the previous cycle, you saw Bitcoin bouncing towards the upside, and then we dropped with over 40% towards the downside. But if you got fooled out over there, you missed out of that massive run towards the upside, which basically makes you thousands of percent in profit. And also in the last bull market, before the big bull market, we had a massive crash here. Everyone thought it was over, but actually it was just the beginning of that next big bull market towards the upside. So I do still believe the same, guys. We are currently seeing a big crash before the big bull market is going to be starting for Bitcoin. I believe the bull market is indeed delayed a little bit here, but it's not going to be all too long here. So yeah, you have to zoom out sometimes on the bigger perspective, but this is all I can say right now here on the markets. There are not a lot of things changing compared to yesterday, but what I do believe is that next week is going to be an interesting week, which we all need to be paying attention towards with that US inflation data hitting the market. So thanks so much for watching towards an amazing new update video. If you did enjoy, don't forget to stop with a like button, subscribe to the channel, and see you guys on the next one. Peace out. Goodbye.